Welcome back to the Brodeurland Show. Today's topic is all on communication. That's right. Now, we can't get this show rolling though without some cheesy intro and inspirational music. There we go. So, you may be wondering, what are the topics we're going to talk about today here on communication? Well, I'm glad you're thinking that, camper, because here they are. First, we've got to talk about what is communication. Second, how can I have effective communication in my life? And third, how can communication lead to success in my life? Those are the topics we're going to talk about today here on the Brodeurland Show. But we've got to dive on in and we've got to find out, what is the Brodeurland definition for communication? Well, let's take a look right here. So the Brodeurland definition for communication goes like this: the act of giving, the act of receiving, and the act of sharing information. Now that you know the Brodeurland definition for communication, we've got to now apply it to our everyday lives. That's right. So what are we waiting for? Let's jump into our first quote right now. So our first quote this week is by George Bernard Shaw, and he says this: the single biggest problem in communications is the illusion that it has already taken place. This quote right here is so true. You see, I'm speaking for myself on this quote right here, and maybe some of you guys can relate, but there are so many times where I got to communicate my feelings, or I've got to communicate some information or relay that out. And sometimes I just don't get around to it, or you know what? Sometimes I'm just too afraid to do it. And so we tend to, in our minds, go, you know what? They're going to understand. They know how I feel. You can't make that assumption. That's the illusion I'm talking about right here. You can't assume people are going to know exactly how you feel, exactly what they need to know. You've got to have that dialogue. You've got to be in that moment with that person or those people. That's how you're going to have that dialogue, by relaying that information and listening to those people. Don't make those assumptions. Don't have those illusions. Now, here's the problem though. A lot of us, as we get into that communication, you go, Mr. Broder, we've got to have that dialogue, and that is so true. But it's not all about the reply, and that's what's important in this next quote right here. So let's take a look and let's keep adding to the layers of communication right here. Our second quote this week is by Stephen Covey, and Stephen says the biggest communication problem is we do not listen to understand, rather we listen to reply. So listening to this quote right here, the first image that comes to my mind after hearing the part where it says we listen to reply is literally a person holding a megaphone and saying, hey, I've got the floor. Hey, I'm speaking here. Now, don't get me wrong. It's important to have your opinions. It's important to share your ideas and share your feelings. That's good. But also, communication is a two-way street. You've got to listen to understand. I was reading up on some CEOs and successful business people, and they all have a similar common practice. They said that when they hold meetings, that they first allow the people in attendance to share their ideas, share what's on their mind. And then at the end, that CEO or that person in charge will then go ahead and share what they think. And they said the importance of this is you listen to understand, you hear from the people, you hear from your workers, and from there you allow them to build that confidence to say, I have a voice. And from there, you can make that informed decision from you listening and from you understanding their perspective. You can use that anywhere in life, with your family, with your friends, at your work, wherever. It's important to listen, and more importantly, it's important to listen to understand so you can make informed decisions in your life, informed decisions with or for other people. So, anyways, we got to jump into our last quote, and we've got to learn, how can I be successful with communication in my life? So, let's jump and look at our last quote right here. So our last quote this week is by Theo Gold, and he says, communication is your ticket to success if you pay attention and learn to do it effectively. So here it is, communication. Can you do it effectively in your life? How does that look? Well, I'm glad you're thinking that. Remember, communication is a two-way street. First, you gotta be willing to have that dialogue with people. You gotta be willing to share your opinions, share your ideas. And that way, you don't just assume that they know what's in your head. No, you gotta be willing to talk with people. Second though, you also gotta be willing to listen to understand. Sure, you can talk, but are you willing to understand where people are coming from so that way you can make informed decisions? And by doing so, that way you can create good, strong, healthy, trusting relationships because you're willing to understand where that person and those people are coming from. That's how you're going to be effective. That's how you're going to be successful. And that's how you're going to take communication and use it in your life. So always remember, you make each week a special week by just you being you. There's no one in the whole world like you except you, and I like you just the way you are. It's good that you exist, but you got to go out there. You've got to use communication effectively so you can listen to understand and have that dialogue with other people so you can be that best version of yourself. So until next time, Broder out. Peace.